To the left of the steering column, we already saw the fuel door release. This is the open up the power lift gate. Dimmer switch for the interior gauges. Automatic high beams, you can turn them on or off here. Has a little indicator light. And then the traction control off button is here. Default is on, so this is the off button. It also has a tilt, telescoping steering column. You lock in place here. Sitting in the driver's seat, I'm 6 feet tall. To give you an idea of the potential legroom here. And I would say it's a little bit, like I could pull it up a little bit, but 6 feet tall, maybe a little bit over, should be no problem. Or of course, anybody under that, since it does have the height adjustment and all that stuff. So yeah, the leg room, the knee room is all good. No problems really. The footrest is also really good. So the footrest, I could put my big foot on there and it's no problem. Some vehicles have a little bit of an issue with that. So this one has the, instead of the Softex steering wheel, it has the leather wrap steering wheel. And it feels pretty good. It's a little bit on the firm side. A little bit thinner here at the top, thicker at the bottom. And it has the paddle shifters on the back. Even though this has the eCVT, it does give you the ability to have control over the speed ratio in case you're going downhill or whatever, that kind of thing. So here on the bottom, you can see that. This is the volume for the radio, the voice recognition. Here on the right side is change to the tracks and the mode, which is your audio source. So you notice the bottom part is associated with the radio. Here on the right side, here on the top, this is the cruise control. Now this is the button to set and also to initiate the cruise control to begin with. So one button right there, and then you can change through the, like increase or decrease your speed. You can cancel. You can also adjust the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you, and also turn on the lane keep assist system, which is pretty decent. It doesn't fight with you. It doesn't really, you know, it's not really a problem. It actually works fairly well. Now, if you want to change to just a non-adaptive cruise control, you could do that with this button here. Here on the left side, this OK and these arrows and this back button corresponds with the screen here. We'll get to that in a second. And it does have the one button to answer calls or hang up. So you push the button to answer, and then you press it again to hold to hang up. I prefer the separate button to hang up, but that's the way they did it. Windshield wiper controls for the front and rear are here. It doesn't have any kind of automatic rain sensing or anything like that. Here on the left side is the turn signal, but it also has the headlight switch. You can turn off the DRLs. Automatic, parking, and headlights are here. And fog lights are controlled right there. So the gauge cluster is mostly a screen there in the center. But it also has the engine coolant temperature here, the fuel gauge, nice and big, easy to read. Black background, white lettering, it pops out, easy to focus on, easy to see. So I like that. And now it gives you some relevant information since it is a hybrid. So like radii, EV, the state of the, like right now I have this digital speedometer, but I also have right here under it is the status of the all-wheel drive system. So as you're driving, it's mostly front-wheel drive, you know, and sometimes it'll kick in the rear-wheel drive, rear sometimes when you need it, when you accelerate hard, that kind of stuff. Here's the odometer, and here is the range. And so this little button right here, you can press that and you can get your trip. So you have trip A, trip B, and then your time until it's time to change the oil. And then it goes back to the odometer. It's this little guy right here. But if we use these buttons here, I'm going to kind of scroll up and down so you can see what happens. So you can see these, like this center part right here is like a little menu system. So we can scroll through. We can go into different settings. We can see messages. We can see the status of the fuel economy, that kind of stuff. Adaptive cruise control mode, digital compass, whatever the radio is doing. And then your all-wheel drive system also has other stuff. So if I scroll right and left, it gives us our trip. And it gives us the energy monitor. Like you might notice this in a Prius where it shows you where the energy is coming from and where it's going to. So sometimes the engine will run and then charge the battery. Sometimes the battery will only be charging, making the wheels go forward, you know, powering the wheels. Sometimes it's the engine powering the wheels and charging the battery. So it's constantly fluctuating as you're driving. It's not really noticeable. The engine actually isn't as loud as some other Toyotas. Some other Toyotas, the engine start up and it's like jarring. This one is not as bad. So I guess out of that space in the under the hood and maybe the insulation or something, they did a good job of isolating the noise for a Toyota or Lexus. It seems like Toyota and Lexus, usually the engines, when the engine cycles on and off, it's just a little bit jarring sometimes, but this one seems to be fine. Glad they're fixing that. So as you're driving, there's this little needle that goes up and down, showing you what the status of your power, basically. So when you're driving, it comes up like this, and then if you're really accelerating hard, then it goes up to the power area. So you're really using a lot of energy. But when you're coasting or going downhill or braking, the little needle comes down into the charge range, where it's using that extra inertia, that extra energy to recharge the battery. So yeah, it's more efficient. You know, the hybrid system is way more efficient than a regular gas vehicle, and of course the full electric vehicles are the most efficient. So yeah, adding some electricity and having a battery to store that extra energy is really good idea. So this center screen, okay, so the first thing on the list is the navigation, but you notice it's not showing the navigation because if you go to set up the navigations for this vehicle, it requires you to download and install an app on your phone. And you might be thinking, why would they want me to download an app to use the navigation on the vehicle, right? Now, there is some benefits to that, but one of the things is that if you read the privacy notice for Toyota, or pretty much any vehicle that requires you to have an application on your phone and accept a bunch of terms, if you read the privacy notice when you do that, you'll understand why they force you to use an app. I'll just say that. Okay, so the next one here is, maybe I should do a video on that. If you want me to make a video on the privacy notices and why they make you use apps, let me know, because it's pretty detailed and it's pretty alarming. Okay, so this is whatever your radio is doing. So there's different sources here, and so you have the radio here. It has a satellite radio, AM, FM, of course the Bluetooth radio, that kind of stuff. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You can pair your phones here, and then you can have information about your vehicle, fuel economy, trip range, that kind of stuff. And then the last one is your settings. And you can go in here and adjust all these settings. Now there is a physical volume knob, which a lot of people enjoy. And so, okay, so this has the climate control, dual zone, driver, passenger, which I've synced right now, the temperatures. So you can see they're the same temperatures, but also if you want to unsync them, you can press this button, or just simply just turning this knob will unsync it. And it has this little visualizations here for the fan speed, where the air is blowing or where you want the air to blow. Recirculate the air. You can also have the air just blow in the front, not the back. Front and rear defrosters are here, and when you turn on the rear defroster, that's when it turns on the heated side mirrors. You do have an eco heat and cool if you'd like to use that, and it saves a tiny bit of energy. Of course, you can turn the full system off here, and there is an automatic function. You just press that button, sets the temperature, and it does everything for you. That's very convenient. Sometimes the fan blows a little bit loud, so I do bring it down sometimes, but you know, when you have it on automatic, it does a pretty good job, basically. The only thing is, sometimes when it's super hot, when the engine's not running, it feels like the air conditioner isn't quite as cold. You know, it takes a long time to cool down and stuff like that, even with this eco off. Okay, so down here you have heated seats for the driver and passenger as high, low, and then off. So it's just two-stage heated seat. Driver and passenger, USB port, USB-C port here as well. And then there is a wireless charger right in here, and my cell phone fits in there fairly well, and hadn't had any problem with it charging even with the case on. It's kind of deep in there, but it gets it out of the way, and it has this little notch there for a wire if you need to plug it in. Alright, it does have the drive modes right here, and it has Sport, Normal, and Eco. And Sport, actually Normal is pretty good. I mean, you don't really have to put it in Sport mode. It's not that weak in Normal mode. It's fine. And then you can force the EV part. Like if you just want to have electric driving, like let's say, you know, you're running late, and you do want to sneak in the driveway without making a big spectacle, you can put on EV mode and you can just quietly go in there. That kind of stuff. So yeah, you can kind of force it into use. If there's enough battery level, then it will give you the ability to do that. Okay, so here's the shifter, and it's pretty straightforward. Go ahead and put it in reverse. You see the backup camera. You see the active guidelines there as well. And since the camera position, you can see it's kind of like a little bit offset. So the guidelines are supposed to kind of accommodate for that. And also seeing the bumper and stuff like that is, you know, be a little bit better if it was in a higher, more center position, in my opinion. Now you do have the more linear view, and then you have the more wide view like this. So there's the more linear view. Wide view, actually, when you get used to this is really handy because you can see both ways behind the vehicle. It does a really good job of really stretching it out, and you can see everywhere once you get used to this view. It looks kind of weird at first, but it is really handy sometimes. And of course you can turn the active guidelines off if you want to here. So you can see the center line. You can see it's over here. Right there, because it's accommodating for that offset of the camera. Alright, continuing on, there's neutral, drive. You can bump it over here to standard mode, in which you can use the paddle shifters, or you can use the shifter here to change to the gears. So it'll show here what gear it is. And it's not really gears, it's a CVT system, so it's more accurately called speed ratios. Alright, and then it has the electronic parking brake, which it has it set to automatically engage, and it engages the rear wheels. But if you need to disengage it, you can hold the brake and push down on it, or you can pull up on it. I like the way it has a little light right there. It has the auto hold feature as well, like if you want it to hold the brake for you when you come to a complete stop, whether you're at a traffic light or whatever, you can have that on as well. There's some cup holders, and you know, they're good. They're in a good location actually, but I wish I had like little arms or something to keep the bottles from wobbling around. Not a huge deal, but you know. And also, one good thing about not having those little arms is that you can utilize this a little bit better for other things besides cups and bottles and stuff. This armrest right here is once again like hard as a rock. It's like if you take a rag and lay it over an anvil. That's how soft it is. So yeah, these aren't not really the best as far as your elbows. Now when you release this there's like a little latch right here. When you release it, it slaps back down. It doesn't stay up very easy. You have to go all the way back and then press it into place to stay there. Now there is a USB-C and a 12-volt power supply. I got my business cards in the way. But there's a little felt-lined pocket at the bottom, which I would replace with a white felt so I can see in there a little bit better. But as it is, it's pretty good because it's not very deep. It's not like a huge pocket or anything. But yeah, it does slap back down. Now it does have places for wires to go in and out of this compartment here and here. So when it slaps down, it doesn't damage your wires. Because some wires are expensive, if you've noticed. It does have the manual day and night mode for the rear view mirror. Up here is the, you have lights, reading lights. Turn on all the interior lights here. Have them turn on with the door or not. And then you have these buttons here for the sunroof. We'll get to that in a minute. And then you have roadside assistance button here, which is covered up so you don't accidentally press it. The visor, it does have a little mirror and a light. It is a vinyl, black vinyl material. The headliner is like a cloth. And then, so this is, I like the way they had the vinyl, because when you're touching it, it's easy to get like a buildup of you know, dirt or whatever on it. So it's very easy to clean when it's a vinyl. If it's a cloth, then it's a little bit harder to clean. Now it does not like slide out, but it has this additional little extension here. So when you're putting it here on the side, it kind of helps, you know, but the sun can definitely, you know, get in the way. So I usually like the extension instead of the sliding, but this one is a little bit not working all that great. Okay, so the sunroof has a shade that covers 100% of the light. You can open it up here. Now let's go ahead and tilt it up. There's a button on the right that tilts it. Tilt it down, and then we can slide it using the button on the left. Press it again. Goes a little bit further back. So yeah, it opens up pretty good. Looking at the visibility here in the back, you can see the pillars are quite wide, and the headrests kind of line up with them. And there's a little window back there, but it's not really hadn't had much of an issue as far as visibility. just kind of looking over my shoulder and looking in the side mirrors, driving the vehicle, rear view mirror, all that stuff, really not an issue with visibility. It's just one of those things you have to get used to, the pillars back there. But really, with the camera system, parking sensors, rear cross traffic alert, blind spot detection system, you know, it has a lot of technology to help you out. But just in general, even without it, it's fine. I hadn't had any issues at all, really, with driving this vehicle. One of the things that a lot of people take for granted, including me, is this little space right here. Some vehicles don't have that space. They have the side mirror too close, and there's no gap. And it adds this pillar blind spot with the side mirror, and it has this huge area in which you could potentially, you know, cause a problem with visibility sometimes in certain situations. So that little gap right there, I really do appreciate that when they do have that there, because you really miss it when it's not there.